Billy Motley says anti-apartheid activist Ahmed Timol could not have committed suicide while in police custody. The judge says the evidence shows Timol was pushed from the roof of the John Forster Square police station as it was then known.
It is the court's prima facie view that the push occurred during interrogation under circumstances where the security branch involved resorted to torture. The torture on Timol was applied with a view to extract information. Counsel for the family of Timol submits that the security branch are guilty of murder. Now, murder is committed intentionally, that is with direct intent, or through dolus eventualis. There's no evidence supporting the view that the security branch had direct intent to commit murder. There are theories suggesting that possibly, but no evidence to back that up.
Well, the family of Ahmed Timol has also welcomed today's ruling. Let's pick up on a news briefing a little earlier today.
It was 46 years of a nightmare that began, of detention of many people, and it had disrupted the life of many others. But they kept the hope that one day South Africa will be free because of the contribution they made and because of what they were subjected to during the period of detention. And 46 years have also gone by that those who murdered Ahmed and those who tortured the detainees that are here today, Salim, who subsequently Salim was sentenced to 5 years in imprisonment, and he was in the same section as Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu. He was sentenced in 1972. That Salim is here with us today, right? But those interrogators, those feared members of the security branch during that nightmare of apartheid, they are no longer here so that we could have brought them to account for their actions. And lastly, I'd like to thank the NDPP for making it possible for this case, the inquest, to be reopened. It took years for Imtiaz and the Foundation for Human Rights engaging with them, and finally that they agreed that we do have new evidence. And we believe that this is the beginning to uncover all those people who were subjected to the most brutal death at the hands of the security police.
Well, in just a moment, I'm going to talk about the decision with ENCA senior researcher Angelo Fick. But before that, the NPA also welcoming the ruling. The prosecuting body says with the help of the Human Rights Commission, other families can also find closure.
In his closing remarks, the judge indicated that the Human Rights Commission must come on board to ensure that the other families who have got their loved one that their human rights were violated in the past must come to the NPA and the other law enforcement agencies to ensure that those matters are properly investigated. The NDPP has indicated that the NPA has got an appetite to ensure that all the families that need some closure actually find some closure through this investigation and inquest and prosecution processes where possible.
All right, so senior researcher Angelo Fick joins us now to talk about this Timol inquest. And let's pick up on this last point, that relationship now between the Human Rights Commission and the NPA. The NPA, we've heard saying it has an appetite to pursue this. What then would the relationship be between those two bodies?
Well, the Human Rights Commission has to ensure that the human rights of the survivors are respected, and some of those rights have to do with the right to the access to truth. So we know that in Ahmed Timol's case, it was 46 years of lies, and these were official lies. So these are not just stories floating out there. The official record was that Ahmed Timol had killed himself. Now, this was the case for many people who died in police custody throughout the 70s and even into the 80s, that their families were told that these people had killed themselves. And now this opens up a process for other judicial inquiries into finding the truths for how people did die in detention at the hands of the police.
And we're also hearing that this might also impact on the Steve Biko case, for instance. Is that one of the ones you're talking about?
That's one of the cases. There are several other cases of people who were killed while in police custody, people whose bodies were dismembered. There was a case that Karen Morn covered earlier of a woman who was an activist whose body got repatriated because it was dispatched off outside of the country. What this opens up for is the accountability, because what the judge here clearly indicated was that there was collective responsibility, that people held in police custody are there and it is the duty of the police to keep them safe and alive. This is one of the fundamental aspects of post-apartheid South Africa. He even sounded the warning to contemporary South African police officers that this should be a case that stands, as a precedent and sounds as a warning that when people are in your custody in post-apartheid South Africa, you are responsible for their safety and for their remaining alive. And we know that there have been too many people who've died in police custody in post-apartheid South Africa as well.
This inevitably opens the path for prosecution, particularly in the case of the security policeman Jean Rodriguez. How would that be pursued? Again, I'm assuming the NPA would have an appetite for that.
So there are questions of perjury where people in the original inquest in apartheid South Africa 1972 misrepresented what was going on, and now they've opened themselves up to being charged not just for the criminal involvement in the death.
And is there a statute of limitations on anything like this?
No. So the involvement in the criminal death of Ahmed Timol is one component of that, but the conduct under oath is a second component where people actually have lied. So these official lies, which many people took as truths for 46 years, are now open to being rewritten. And I think if there is a victory here, it is a very Pyrrhic victory, because this does not bring Ahmed Timol back to life, but it does allow us to tell the story of apartheid differently, because now the official record is that this person didn't die by his own hand, he was actually killed by the police.
And also it lends a lot more importance to his death as well, no doubt.
Quite, because again, people who've had his close ones, his relatives, his comrades, have had to live with 46 years of official lies, which says that this man was a coward, that he killed himself, can now actually accept that that judicial inquiry was incomplete, was not accurate, and did not come to judicially verifiable conclusions. This judicial inquiry felt that because there were so many holes in the evidence record, it couldn't be accepted that that was the truth, and on the basis of testimony given in this inquest and on the basis of what was available to it, factors point to the fact that Ahmed Timol was killed while in police custody at the hands of all of those collectively involved in it.
It might have been George Bezos at the news briefing that was talking about the wheels of justice grinding very slowly, but it is extraordinary that it's taken over 4 decades for us to reach this particular point.
I mean, I'm younger than Ahmed Timol's death. He died, a year before I was even born. And it is this long sweep of history that I think many South Africans forget is what shapes our everyday existence now. That for 46 years, the family of Ahmed Timol had to live in the same country as the families of the people who killed him and of the people who killed him. And what the judge indicated also was that because justice has been so slow in coming, many of the people who were implicated and complicit with this death can no longer be charged because they have died. But those who remain alive must be charged, because it is a question of being accountable for your actions.
And it will be incumbent upon the NPA to act swiftly in that respect too.
Precisely.
Is that likely to happen?
Well, the test now is for the NPA how quickly they can move on this. The question, though, that many people will ask is, if they're moving quickly on this case, why are they moving slowly on other cases that have the same kind of urgency in the contemporary political environment? And I think this is going to be a test of the NPA. Do they have the political will to pursue this? And if they have the political will to pursue this, can they pursue other similar cases of injustice?
Right, a senior researcher here at ENCA, Angelo Fick.